which is about $600, which is great for charity. Unfortunately, he was very not happy when all he got was a very quick hug. He was clearly expecting more, because, well, he's a moron.
Bingo, yes, bravo.
So it's, you know, that fun thing of, well, we're not going to auction someone so that you can take them back and have sex with them. That's not what this is, because that would be illegal.
That's what the after party's for.
That's not using the money, though.
Didn't Spike Spencer hook up at the after party?
Spike Spencer hooked up with 2 people at the after party.
Sounds like something he'd do.
Were you one of them?
Unfortunately, I was going to say, unfortunately, Spike don't swing that way. Very, very sad.
You know,
Little Grebo, on the other hand. I kid. He's a very proper English gentleman.
I don't know if the name Mark Evanier is known down here or not. He's known up in the States.
Mark Evanier, anybody?
He's a comic book historian up there. He was a guest at Africon, and he wrote a review of the convention and of Furries. It was overall a very positive review, and one thing he said, he's a magnificent wordsmith. I have always said, as a furry, nothing hurts me more than to be called a loser by a guy wearing Yoda gears. And what Mark said was, he said, furries have had to endure a lot of barbs from people who really ought to know better.
Well, I guess this brings us to the next point on the cheat sheet, the conventions. Now, in my prestigious role as a massive wanker, I get to go to a lot. I run a science fiction bookshop, so naturally I go to sci-fi conventions. I run anime conventions, I run doujinshi conventions. I've been invited to a number of sort of sub-fan conventions, such as Star Trek and the True Blood Con. And there is this sort of my fandom is better than your fandom edge that goes along with every single one of them. And my biggest, I guess the thing that I never quite understood is one of the common things about almost every other pop culture or sub-pop cultural group is that furries get ragged on by absolutely everyone, which particularly for Star Trek and Star Wars, I think is a bit, you know, chasing the pale, considering Uhura was originally meant to be a cat girl, and it's just they didn't have the makeup technology in the 60s. So instead of being a cat girl, they just made her black. And Star Wars, what the hell are those things coming out of the back of their head? Okay, like, so I guess, considering that furry is like a quintessential part of, it's a quintessential part of the sci-fi culture, it's a quintessential part of the fantasy culture.
And of the anime culture.
Of the anime culture, and now, thanks to, I guess, you know, wares, even of the vampire culture. So like, I guess, how is it that you're sort of, the reaction from furs towards this animosity when really they actually belong in these other subcultures?
I'll tell you why. Because it seems to be a very, very human reaction. The bullied person loves to bully other people. I tried a little experiment with folks up north. I don't know, has the Twilight phenomenon hit down here? Okay, do you have Twilight fans down here?
Yeah.
We had Charlene Harris out here about 4 weeks ago.
We're going to kill them all.
Really? What are the Twilight fans like?
They're tryhards.
Okay, they're Twilight. What, you don't like them? You don't like them? Oh, wait, I think I get it now. These people are into something that you don't understand and you think is childish, and that makes them losers. Does that sound familiar to you, Fluffy?
Actually, in my defense, my hate of Twilight fans comes from the fact I was an extra in an Anne Rice movie, so I know what real vampires are about.
Excuse. But I tend to get extremely angry at furries who go, Twilight fans are a bunch of losers. Fucking grow up already, why don't you? Don't you know by now how it feels? I'll tell you what. This cycle of, oh, my fandom's better than your fandom. The furries at the bottom. No, we have something to pick on. You know what? Maybe it ought to stop with us. Okay? You know, you're into Twilight. I don't understand it, but you know, more power to you. God bless you. I'll be at my con, you go to yours. We'll see you later. He's so eloquent. I love this man.
I'm about as subtle as a jackhammer to the crotch.
I need to let you buy me a drink.
That can happen.
Do you think that maybe the furries are used as scapegoats because they're part of pretty much all of the other fandoms, and people go, oh, there's something a bit, you know, the general public doesn't like my fandom, but I'll blame it on these other guys. So, like, because they're, yeah,
It could be.
See, Evan, oh.
You see, we're cute and fluffy. That's the thing.
I was going to say, most of those fat anime fans are too, but only because they don't wax.
It comes down to the same phenomenon. I have found something that I see as being geekier than me. That means I'm okay, and people will stop picking on me now. I just have to jump on the bandwagon and pick on these people. You know? Take it as a kid who 30 years ago was bullied in school. I'm sure a lot of you guys were too. I'm going to share with you something that I said to Trace Beaulieu. You know the name?
No.
Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh!
He was Dr. Forrester, and he was also a
Doc
protein
Forrester.
robot. Yep. Trace was guest of honor at a furry convention. Actually, it was a furry convention that specialized in puppetry, which is why he was guest of honor, because he was a crow. And they brought him in, and I went up and I said, "Oh, Mr. Beaulieu, I'm a great admirer and everything. I should very much like to buy you a drink sometime." And he said, "I'm not busy now." I said, "Let's go." So we went to the bar, and I bought him a drink. And then he bought me a drink, and then we bought each other a drink, and then somebody came along and bought us both a drink, and then I think we started over again. I lost, and we got what my grandmother used to call shit face. And some fursuiters walked by, and Trace watched them walk by. And you have to imagine the Dr. Forrester voice. It was classic. He said, "I just have one question. Who are you people?" And I was going to give him the spiel. Oh, so very large, but I realized that he's a fan. He deserves the real answer. But I didn't know the real answer, so I made it up. I said, "Sir, you asked the wrong question. You asked who we are. You need to ask who we were." You see, we were the fat kid. We were the brainy kid. We were the kid with the big, thick glasses. We were the kid confused about his sexual identity. We were the kid who was awkward. We were the kid who wasn't good at sports. We were the kid who, for whatever reason, the other kid said, "You don't belong with us." But human beings are social creatures. We sought companionship. Denied companionship by our peers, we looked for it where we could. Some of us found it in the stars. Some of us found it in sorcery and swords. We here found it in the happy, smiling, accepting faces of the characters we saw on Saturday morning cartoons. Now, to answer your question, who we are is nothing more than adults who never forgot our old friends.
woo!
Yes.
Here, he said, "That's beautiful, man." I said, "Shit, I gotta write that down."
These days we have dictaphones. It's awesome. I was going to say, that's actually the perfect segue to the last point that's here on the cheat sheet, the emergence of our two cultures, which basically seems to be verbatim for both. Internet. Which, as we all know, is actually for porn. Yeah, I gotta say.
No song.
Yeah. Very quickly, for those of you who are not nearly as geeky as I am, and I assure you it's not that many of you, because I had what was the internet before the internet. Does anyone in here remember the Whole Earth Link Library?
Oh,
One guy. We never had that here.
You didn't have that?
Yes.
Did we?
Yeah, maybe.
FidoNet?
FidoNet, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shit,
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, go on.
so
You
well,
need
the internet
extensions
became
for-
available here in 1994, but before that there was Whole Earth Link Library, and that was when things were great because it was a whole bunch of jokes and academic articles. Then the internet happened, and then the JPEG format became standard thanks to Mosaic, and we finally had porn. And you know the rest of the story. However, where it sort of diverges here on our cheat sheet is that, thanks to the internet, we basically managed to get our dubbed and fan subbed videos, and you guys are still largely derided as we just discussed.
Yes.
And if anyone sort of wants to boo me for that, it's written on the cheat sheet. It's not
Actually,
me.
we were doing dubbed and fan sub videos before the internet. It was just really inconvenient. But people, uni students who were studying the languages would actually pass around the...
Yes.
Yep.
I was going to say, however,
would
like
actually
prior
read
to the internet, though, you couldn't actually sort of spread that stuff
You had
internationally.
to know something.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we would actually have people come around and we'd read out the subs to people when they were watching the anime.
In the United States, we had what was called the Cartoon Fantasy Organization, the CFO. These people would bring in either subbed, fan subbed, very badly, done on like Commodores, anime, or they would bring the anime in and have a knowledgeable person literally give you a running translation.
Yep.
That's how we used to do it back in the day.
Live dub.
Now, because there is so much mainstream anime out there, there's a lot of exposure to the public at large. And with familiarity, people are like, okay, there's that stuff again. With the furry stuff, the use of furries in a storytelling medium that is not a bunch of funny animals jumping off of cliffs and getting up at the bottom and dusting themselves off is still something that is rather new to people. Again, we can talk about the porn, but...
I was going to say, to interject, I mean, we've had Disney cartoons for ever, basically.
Yes.
Nearly a century of Disney now. Not quite, but give it another couple of decades. Disney's been around for longer than anyone in this room is the point. Whereas anime in the West, is a fairly new phenomenon, yet anime has gained acceptance, whereas furry, which really, theoretically speaking, should be more acceptable as most of the publicly available media, or generally publicly available media, is child suitable, whereas a majority of anime is not.
But that's the difference. The Western world, what they see as furry has always been the funny animals. Oops, sorry, I meant your temple.
That's okay.
And has been seen
It
as...
actually has a convenient handhold if you'd like.
Really? It's just rather limp. We need some Viagra. No, I shouldn't. I'll get on YouTube if I do that. Boy, it would be fun. Anyway, I'm going to borrow. We have at this convention, by the way, Mr. Stan Sakai. If you folks have not had a chance to meet him, he's a remarkable fellow.
Very friendly, by the way.
I stand in awe of him because you may not realize it, but Stan had a very, very big hand in starting the modern furry family with Usagi Yojimbo. Because before the comic revolution of the 1980s, funny animals were funny animals. It was pies in the face and roadrunners and coyotes. And it wasn't until the late 1980s, early 1990s, people started using the anthropomorphic character in actual storytelling. And Stan does it better than anybody. The man is the
Teenage
Akira
Mutant Ninja
Kurosawa.
Turtles, anybody?
Exactly. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Usagi Yojimbo. If you talk to Stan, he relates a story. I can't tell it as well as he can because, damn, he's a good storyteller. But he mentions sitting at Comic-Con, and here he's got Usagi in front of him, and people come up, oh, look, a cute bunny. And they open it and they say, he kills people. Yeah, that's Usagi. It was in the late 1980s, and people said funny animals don't have to be funny anymore.
By the way, if anyone wants violently funny animals, I recommend Apocalypse Meow.
Oh my God! AKA Cat Shit 1.
Yes.
Another crossover furry and I.
It's delightful. It's a retelling of Vietnam War with bunnies.
Yes. Let's tell Vietnam War with bunnies. It will be cute. It's cute, all right. Look, that bunny got impaled with punchy sticks. Aww.